Super Mario RPG is getting a very unexpected remake soon, so what's a better time than now to look back at the original and experience its isometric glory one more time? Crossovers nowadays aren't that uncommon. Frankly, kids these days don't know how good they have it, what with their Spider-Man crossovers, and their other Spider-Man crossovers, and their other Spider-Man crossovers. Back in the 90s, the closest thing we got to that was the Flintstones meeting the Jetsons, and it blew our minds. A company sharing their intellectual property simply wasn't as common back then, so it was pretty surprising in 1996 to see Square pairing up with Nintendo. Not quite as surprising as their later pairing with Disney, but still a surprise nonetheless. It all came about when Shigeru Miyamoto's desire to make a role-playing game collided with Square's desire to make a game that would reach a more Western audience. And just like that, an iconic duo was created, like Peanut Butter and Chocolate, or Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, or Mel Gibson and anti-Semitism. Super Mario RPG was the very last Mario game to be released on the Super Nintendo, and what a way to go out. Not like the Wii hobbling through the finish line 10 years too late with Just Dance 2020. Get that weak shit out of here, dog. Unfortunately, people really weren't paying too much attention to the Super Nintendo, as it was only 4 months away from the N64's release. When that happened, Super Mario 64 pretty much completely stole Mario RPG's thunder.
I wish I were high on pot news. I wish I was high on pot news.
But hey, you know what? I think this game is pretty cool and definitely deserved way more attention than it got at the time. This is my retrospective of Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars. Chapter 1. A Real Pain in the Casshole. I always thought it was cool how the game starts you out in Bowser's Castle, already reframing the storytelling that we're used to. The isometric style in this game is really unique and not something you saw a lot on the SNES. I mean, that's next-gen PS1 kind of stuff right there. In fact, Nintendo had to use a special SA1 enhancement chip in the game's cartridge in order to pull that off. This wouldn't really be used for too many other games, but like the save battery that was starting to become incorporated in games like A Link to the Past, it showed that Nintendo was willing to evolve their hardware to enhance certain games, and you know what? I think that's pretty cool. The combat system in this game is your typical Final Fantasy turn-based style RPG, but to make things a little bit more interesting, there's timed attacks, where if you press the input button just before the attack lands, it'll deal extra damage. Likewise, if you press the guard button right before getting attacked, you'll take less damage. This was very much an intentional design from the developers to make the combat more engaging, and I think that's great. The only problem is that it's really not all too clear when you're supposed to press the button, especially on special attacks like Mallow's Lightning Strike. Later games like Paper Mario would add a visual prompt to help with the timing, but considering this was the origin of the concept, it's not quite perfected yet. Mario makes his way through the castle and finds Bowser and Peach up on the ceiling. Not unlike that spider I saw last night in the corner of my room. I just know it's gonna fall into my mouth while I'm asleep. Fighting Bowser on a chandelier is awesome. When Bowser says it's a chain reaction, the inner dad in me knew this would be a good time. Also, the chain is named Kink Link for some reason, which I thought, hey, good for you, Mario, finally making a game with some sex appeal. The chandelier falls, and Bowser and Mario's fight is interrupted by a giant sword crashing into the castle and sending Mario flying. Why a giant sword? Just 'cause. Mario crash lands into his own house and lands on a clothes hook. A toad walks by and informs Mario that people usually use the door when they want to enter. This snarkiness may be the beginning of the Toads' characterization as comic relief characters, a big step up from simply the princesses in another castle. The modern version of Toad really did stem from this game. For that matter, a lot of the humor of the Mario series started with this game too. I mean, sure, there were other adaptations of Mario before this, like the Super Mario Show, that gave Mario some more depth beyond just a dude who jumps and murders turtles, but Lou Albano's cartoonish Italian traits never really got reincorporated back into Mario's lore, not until the Super Mario movie at least. For those that have played any of the Paper Mario or Mario & Luigi games, there's definitely a distinct type of humor they're going for, and you can really see the birth of it here in Mario RPG. And that's a special treat for me because I think the Toads are hilarious. They're like minions, except your aunt isn't sharing memes about them on Facebook with her other boomer shit. Right away, the game oozes charm and respect for the IP. Even the way you save the game is on brand, with Mario jumping onto the save screen. This game always goes the extra mile to make sure every facet of the game, including the innocuous ones, are cleverly detailed. Developers these days just don't make them like they used to. Oh no, I'm feeling the sudden urge to post a Toad meme on Facebook. Somebody stop me! Mario goes back to Bowser's castle but gets sword blocked. The giant blade tells him he's part of the Smithy gang, and they're taking over the world. Why? Just cuz. 2. If you think the motivations for the bad guys are going to get any deeper than that, then I'm truly sorry. Toad tells Mario that he should go to the Mushroom Kingdom to talk to the Chancellor about it. I feel like this was a missed opportunity to make a chanterelle pun, but maybe I'm thinking too hard about this. Pretty early on, we're introduced to some platforming mechanics which help break up the monotonous battle system. Super Mario RPG really tries its best to feel like a platformer and an RPG at the same time, and I have to commend them for their efforts because that's not the easiest combination to pull off. Like wearing a striped tie with a striped shirt.
It's called power clashing, and I do it because I can.
Eventually you'll run into the first boss, the Hammer Bros, who have an attack called Hammer Time, just in case you forgot you were playing a game made in 1996. After defeating the Hammer Bros and taking their weapon for your own, you'll arrive in the Mushroom Kingdom. Everyone has giant heads that are just perfect for jumping on and riding around, and they weirdly don't seem to mind. In one of the Toad houses, you'll find a kid jumping on his bed. He excitedly asks if one day he will be able to jump as high as you. You have the option of saying yes or no. If you say no, the kid will just stop jumping and quietly stare at the corner, since you killed his dream.
All around me are familiar faces.
Upon entering the Mushroom Castle, you can explore Peach's room, where you'll find her question mark, which is almost certainly a back massager. And a Toad attendant will scold you for snooping through her stuff. Pretty weird for Nintendo to add this in here. I didn't know Peach had chronic back pain. Mario meets with the Chancellor, and because Mario has never really been one for full-on conversations, he does like a C-3PO telling stories to the Ewoks thing, with impressions and sound effects and whatnot. It actually fits really well here since it kind of mocks the silent RPG protagonist trope, while also not making us deal with this sort of thing.
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come!
The Chancellor sends you on a quest to go find Peach, which is kind of what you were already doing, so thanks a lot. He'll give you a whole 10 coins to aid you in your quest, which is kind of like your grandma giving you a $5 bill and saying, don't go spending it all in one place. Mario goes outside and meets Mallow, a puffy lad that looks like a booger. Supposedly he's a frog, but even the game indicates otherwise. When I was a kid, I thought he was just a talking marshmallow. He asks if you could help him track down his wallet, which was stolen by a crocodile. Now, if that isn't the most Florida man thing I've heard this week, you can choose to help him or not, and if you don't, he'll start to cry, which will create rain falling on the entire Mushroom Kingdom. So he looks like a cloud, and he can make it rain. Definitely a frog. They follow the Croc, cleverly named Croco, through Bandit's Way and fight him to get the wallet back. I gotta say, when I first started playing this game, I thought I'd be able to just breeze by it. And during this boss fight, I realized how painfully wrong I was. If you aren't properly leveled up, you'll easily get one-hit killed. So don't be like me and avoid enemies. I know it's tempting, especially since there's no random encounters, but you will die, and it won't be fun.
And if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die. Please.
After beating Croco, Mario and Mallow go back to the Mushroom Kingdom to find it just lousy with Shy Guys terrorizing the innocent Toads. You leave for one day and suddenly it's just lousy with terrorists. Ain't that a bitch? This section of the game is weird to me. It's clearly just filler content to pad time, as the entire challenge simply revolves around fighting the exact same enemy over and over and over again. It really doesn't add anything to the story, and by the time you flush the Shy Guys out of Peach's castle, you'll probably be feeling like you just wasted an hour of your time. And you'd be correct. Now my theory here is that this may just be a remnant of the old Blockbuster rental era, where video game developers conspired with video game rental stores to make the beginnings of games spike in difficulty to encourage kids to re-rent the games because they wouldn't be able to beat them in one weekend. Don't look at me like I'm crazy, I swear this was a real documented thing. Anyways, I think this section might just be intentional padding. It just feels weird to fight the second boss of the game, and then immediately go fight a third boss that just appears out of nowhere. But anyways, Mario defeats the Shy Guy Lord and gets his first star. That brings us to the subtitle of this game, Legend of the Seven Stars. You see, when that giant sword smashed into Bowser's castle, it also sent the 7 stars scattered across the world. These stars, as we'll later find out, are very important, and become the MacGuffin that Mario needs to collect in order to save the world. At this point in the game, though, you're still just trying to find Peach, so let's just focus on that for now.
All was peaceful in the Mushroom Kingdom till Smithy the sword shattered the Star Road. Wow! So with his old enemy Bowser and a marshmallow who throws lightning, Mario fought evil wedding cakes and the killer Venus flytraps and recovered the 7 stars!
Grandfather's freaky. Super Mario RPG, only on the system that keeps on kicking. Super NES.
Dig it?
Chapter 2. The Wisdom of Frogs and Sentient Dolls. Before we keep going, I want to point out that I have a Patreon, and I'm hoping that I could start getting some of that sweet couple of dollars a month income. So if you'd like to support West Does Games, how about that? And if not, you could always just subscribe to my channel for more lengthy retrospectives like this one. To make it worth your while, here's something cool. It's my son in a bee costume. Isn't that cute? Doesn't that make you just want to absolutely go and die? Anyways, back to the video. Mallow wants to go back home, so he suggests going through the Kiro sewers, which are full of treacherous monsters and probably also the excrement of whatever toads eat. Smaller mushrooms, maybe? I'm not sure. The sewer dungeon is pretty well balanced, providing a small amount of problem solving with a moderate battle challenge. Pretty cool. I give it a 7 out of 10. This has been Wes's sewer review. Go smash that bell for more sewer content. The boss at the end here is called Bellomi, which I assume is what Mario tells him to do because he gets defeated so easily. If that joke isn't clear, just say it in Mario's Italian accent. I also wanted to point out that this boss has a magic attack that turns your player into a scarecrow, which is probably my favorite status ailment ever in an RPG. It just makes no sense and I love it. Anyways, Bellomi leaves, and it's probably the last time we'll ever see him.
It wasn't.
After the fight, a deluge of dookie water carries our heroes outside the sewers and over a waterfall, leading to the Midas River in our first minigame. It's called the Midas River, of course, because it's full of
gold!
Here, you'll have to collect as many coins as you can as you progressively fall further down the rapids. When you get to the bottom, you'll start the second phase of the game, where you have to ride this log
Just like your mama.
down the river and avoid fish that want to steal your hard-earned coins. What is it with the 90s and log rolling anyways? Once you're done with the minigame, this Toad will tell you that he's holding onto your coins until you can reach a certain threshold. What the hell, Toad? I earned these coins. How are you gonna big government me like that? Mario and Mallow soon find themselves in Tadpole Pond, where a bunch of tadpoles are super stoked to meet the legendary Jumpman himself. I mean, it makes sense, a bunch of frogs would idolize Mario, practically speaking. They ask Mario to do a little hop to show off, and boy does he deliver. You'll meet Mallow's grandfather, the wise old Frog Fuchsius, which is kind of a play on words, or a portmanteau. And again, as a lame dad, this sort of thing is so far up my alley that I'll need a proctologist to get it out. He also has a Lakitu fly him around for dramatic effect, which I think is hilarious. Frog Fuchsius decides to drop a bombshell on Mallow, informing him that he's adopted, and not really a frog at all, which isn't really that surprising. He suggests that Mallow follow Mario on his quest and try to find out about his real parentage along the way. Before moving forward, you'll have the option of playing a minigame where you compose a song by jumping on tadpoles that correspond with the chromatic scale. It's a fun enough time, if not really super clear, which I'll expand on later. Mario and Mallow continue on towards Rose Town, a curiously named location since there's really not a flower theme here at all, but I guess it sounds better than Mushroom Kingdom 2, which is what it is. This is an RPG on the Super Nintendo. It has like 1 megabyte of memory, so textures are reused a lot. That's fine. When they arrive, the townsfolk are being bombarded with raining arrows, being shot from the nearby woods. Fortunately, the arrows only freeze the toads in place, rather than, killing them. Obviously, the solution here is to blindfold yourself and run straight at the archer, but these toads clearly didn't get the memo. One of the frozen toads tells Mario he's worried that someone will rob his treasure from his house while he's frozen. If you want to go inside and make his nightmare come true, you absolutely should. In another toad's house, a child is playing with dolls of Mario, Bowser, and Peach. In the kid's game, Bowser has already defeated Mario, and he asks the real Mario to play as Bowser. That's gotta be a colossal mind for our hero. Or maybe Mario likes being c***ed, who knows, don't kink shame. The boy pulls out another doll named Gino, who's like a wooden ventriloquist puppet with no pants, and unfortunately for us, no d***. Just imagine the possibilities for special attacks if Gino had a d***, especially if we're working with Pinocchio rules. That night, a vague but probably benevolent spirit comes down from the heavens and possesses the Gino doll. Strangely enough, this doesn't result in a string of knife murders, as every movie about possessed dolls has conditioned me to expect. Instead, Gino simply wanders off, and the next morning, the Toad Boy asks you to find him. Mario and Mallow venture into the aptly named Forest Maze, where you'll fight some familiar baddies, like this angry caterpillar, and weirdly enough, Donkey Kong, who's fallen on some hard times.
Swing low, sweet chariot.
Eventually, you'll get to this four-way fork in the road, and it's pretty easy to get lost here. One of the toads in town mentioned previously that when you arrive here, you need to go some combination of left, right, straight, and so on to arrive at a surprise. The problem is that with the isometric design of this game, where everything is diagonal, what the hell counts as left? Is this left? Or is this left? And what does straight count as? Basically, this toad is a real and I don't feel bad for stealing his treasure. At the end of the forest maze is a giant talking bow, who, if I was a betting man, would wager is the one shooting arrows into town. He's also probably in the Smithy gang, but that's not 100% clear. The bad guys in this game have about as much depth as a Marvel movie, and they kinda just are there to be there. Why is he shooting arrows into Rosetown? Because f*** 'em. For this story, that's good enough, I guess. Mario and Mallow fight the sentient bow, and Gino, the possessed children's toy, joins the fight and tips the scale in your favor. Gino is a fun party member to play with, but there's some nuance. He's what you'd call a glass cannon, meaning he has high attack power, but really low defense. His main move involves using his hands as guns, which is pretty sick, and in 1996, the closest thing we'd get to having a Mario and Mega Man crossover. Up until now, the battle dynamic was a little bit off, but finally having 3 party members really balances things out. It's just a shame it takes so long to get that third party member. Bo is defeated. Hooray! Gino explains that he's a star spirit that came to Earth to help Mario on his quest to recover the rest of the 7 stars. Without the stars, people won't be able to make wishes, and their dreams won't come true. For me, that means that until the stars are collected, Jessica Alba is never gonna marry me, take on my colossal credit card debt, or bear me my 8 perfect-looking children. The Star Spirit says he took on the form of Gino because he looked like the strongest of all the Toad Boy's dolls. There's a lot of logical issues with this statement, never mind the fact that the Toad Boy also had a Mario doll, so the Star Spirit is giving a real big FU to Mario. If he could have possessed anything, why would he possess a doll, instead of, say, a tank, or another person, or a suit of armor? I mean, how else is he planning on learning a hard lesson about hubris and playing God? Mario and Mallow gladly accept the talking wooden doll into their party.
You've got a friend in me.
Chapter 3. Minor, I Barely Know Her. The next part of the game branches out and gives you the option of either going to Mole Town or the optional Yoster Island. This game, for the most part, is about as linear as Final Fantasy XIII, where your 2 options were going forward or going backwards. So at least the Yoshi Island detour is something. On the island, you'll find the ubiquitous green Yoshi that was introduced to us not too long ago in Super Mario World. He greets Mario as a friend, and I think that's really cool. You'll need to be riding Yoshi to understand the other Yoshis, otherwise their dialogue will just be dinosaur noises. It's nice to see some lore building here, although most of the other Mario games are pretty inconsistent with whether or not Yoshi talks, or if people could understand him, so I don't know how canonical this game is. If you talk to the bizarro punk version of Yoshi, named Boshi, because sure, why not, he'll challenge you to a race. This starts a minigame that, quite frankly, has always baffled and infuriated me. According to the directions, you need to press A and B back and forth to the beat of the music in order to go forward. The problem here is that the song that plays has no discernible beat to track along with, and after retrying the race 100 times, mixing up my timing of the button presses and whatnot each time, I can never get it right. Not when I played this game as a kid, and not now. I've played musical instruments for most of my life, so I'd like to think I could follow along with a basic music minigame. I feel like this is just a poorly designed element slapped into the game without clear enough instructions. Or maybe I just suck at Yoshi races and I don't know what I'm talking about. Feel free to tell me how much I suck in the comments section.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The one positive thing I'll say here is that I think it's cute you could give Yoshi a speed boost by giving him a cookie, a jokey nod to the SNES game Yoshi's Cookie. This isn't to be confused with the spin-off game where Yoshi loses the race, Yoshi's on fire, help me Tom Cruise. In Mole Town, is going down right away. Apparently, a star piece hit the local The mole parents of Mole Town, with their mole concern for their mole children, mole beg Mario to go into their mole mines to save the mole day. And afterwards, they'll celebrate by eating some mashed avocados. Mario enters the and runs into the first obstacle, a dead end that requires a bomb to clear the way. You'll face a lot of bomb enemies along the way leading up to this, and it's kind of inconceivable that Mario can't just, toss one of those bombs at the wall, but whatever. Fortunately, somebody does have a bomb. It's Croco, the purple Dickens-esque pickpocket from earlier in the game. After Mario bumps his head and passes out, Croco steals all your hard-earned coins. Mario chases him down and enacts some street justice on this little punk.
Stomp him in the nuts. We'll stomp him in the nuts. We'll stomp him in the nuts. I'ma stomp him in the nuts.
Croco runs off, leaving behind a bomb, which he can use to proceed through Damn it. When you arrive at the end of the stage, you'll run into this jester-looking villain named Punchinello, an obscure joke if there ever was one. The word originally meant chicken, but over the centuries evolved to mean a clown character in Italian puppet shows. I didn't realize that Italian puppet shows were so prolific that they have their own library of specific terms, but hey, that's not my world. I'm all about German puppet shows.
Blockhütte in Wald bauen, wo wir Name draufschreiben und dann warten, bis irgendeiner sich...
Anyways, Punchinello has found himself the star that's crashed into the mine, and he's hoarding it for himself, wanting to use its power to take over the world. Or at very least Mole Town, which I imagine would go over similar to the Scouring of the Shire, which is to say, the mole people would probably f*** him up. Punchinello isn't really much of a threat if you've taken the time to grind experience and level up your party. He threatens to kamikaze himself with the giant bomb, and Geno basically calls his bluff, saying he doesn't have the balls. I think this is a great moment for Geno's character, as it pretty much solidifies his role as the cool, edgy, mysterious anime sidekick character, much like Tuxedo Mask or a less intense Batman. The bomb explodes, but magically only kills Punchinello while leaving our party intact. That's some strong plot armor. Mario goes on to the next room and finds the missing youth. I don't know what Punchinello's goal was for keeping the mole girl as his captive, but hopefully it wasn't so that he could have sex with a minor. Thank you. Mario takes the youth and exits the mine in the best way possible, through a Donkey Kong Country-esque minecart minigame. This minigame is actually really solid and presents some difficulty without being cheap or unfair, although it does go on a little long. Like the waterfall minigame, you simply need to make the correct turns and jump at the right times. It's definitely a fun detour. Mario and company burst through the mines and land smack dab in the middle of Mole Town, with the missing youth landing safely in her bed next to her parents. Her parents are so grateful that they give Mario absolutely nothing. Cheap-ass hillbillies. By this point of the game, you've collected 3 of the 7 missing stars, so you're almost halfway through the game, and still haven't gone your full party yet, but don't worry, that'll change real soon. Chapter 4, An Arranged Marriage. Once you leave the house, you'll immediately run into 3 Sniffets, which are like Shy Guys if they had a cocaine addiction. They're trying to catch a beetle, as their boss, Booster, likes to collect them. A point, by the way, which is never mentioned again. They also hint that their boss has captured Princess Toadstool, so now we know where to go next. After crossing through Booster Pass, Mario and friends make it to Booster Tower, where Bowser is trying to get inside. Peach is on the balcony, and he intends on recapturing her. Realizing that he and Mario have similar goals, he suggests that they team up, but of course, he does it in the most "I don't actually need your help" way possible. This is actually really interesting because it's the first time in Mario history that the two team up, and that you as the player get to control Bowser. It's a real historic moment for sure. Bowser is fun to play as, and his extra attack power comes in really handy for the extra strong enemies you'll face in Booster's Tower. He has high attack, defense, and HP. Honestly, the only downside is that his special attacks aren't great. Now is also when you have the option of swapping out party members, as you now have 4, but can only have 3 in battle at a time. Fortunately, inactive party members still gain experience, so you don't have to worry about certain characters falling behind. As you climb up the tower, you may notice that Booster is always watching from a distance, which I found to be pretty off-putting. Booster is a strange character and worth dipping into a little bit. He looks a lot like Wario, and his personality quirks may have been transplanted back into Wario in later games.
I'm gonna win!
He also may or may not be based on Michael Jackson. Hear me out. He's an ultra-rich and kinda weird dude with a mansion full of exotic creatures and toys, and he rides around on a toy train and has delusions about the world around him. He has a loved one fall off a balcony, he has the mind of a child, he has a weird f***ed up face, he has loyal followers.
Is that enough? Should I keep going?
In this room, if you go behind the curtain, you'll pop out as an 8-bit version of Mario. It's a cute reference, though a little confusing why it would be here. Eventually, you'll come across a row of family portraits of Booster's elders. Look at them in chronological order, and you'll get a key which opens a secret room. Inside is a locked-up Chain Chomp that was abandoned by Booster. Bowser shows some surprising humanity here, freeing the creature and seeming to show that he values the lives of these sort of underlings. But then he goes on to use the Chain Chomp as a weapon, so a mixed bag here. I will say though that it's a really strong weapon for Bowser starting out, and you could promptly sell it in the next town, which is sad but hilarious. In this room, enemies will pop out of the floor if you step on the wrong tile. I was never good at Minesweeper, so this led to a lot of encounters. Booster rides in on a toy train like some sort of eccentric billionaire, and in a state of paranoia assumes that Mario is there to steal Peach away from him. Which is technically correct, but still. He tosses bombs at Mario, and when that fails, he casually rolls away. Mario finds Peach on the balcony, but can't get through the locked door. They both hear Booster coming, so Mario decides to hide behind some curtains. You then get to overhear Booster talking to his minions about his wedding with Peach, and they decide to have a rehearsal with toy versions of our heroes. How is it that this is the second Mario doll we've come across in the game? Is Mario that popular in the Mushroom Kingdom, or is there like a witch doctor leaving voodoo dolls just laying around, or what? Booster can't find the Mario doll, so he instructs his minions to look behind the curtains for it. This leads to an impromptu minigame where you have to move around and not be seen by the minions. This was my favorite part of the game when I was a kid, and as an adult, I appreciate the novelty of creating unique gameplay whenever possible. It's pretty easy to not get caught as the game gives you 3 chances to not be seen, but if you fail, you'll have to fight Booster and his minions. If you succeed, Booster will find the doll with the help of Mario, oblivious to his presence. It's a real Looney Tunes moment, and it's genuinely pretty funny. Booster is also really polite here, and it makes me glad that I didn't have to fight him unnecessarily. Booster enters the balcony, the password being whatever name you inputted at the start of the game. I'm not super smart, so when they said the password was Wes, my first thought was, that's weird, that's my name. Mario goes onto the balcony, but is quickly stopped by 2 boss characters, Knife Guy and Great Guy, and you'll never guess what weapons they use. Mario and company jump off the balcony and chase Booster, who has Peach in tow. This leads to the Booster Hill minigame, where you have to catch up with him while avoiding barrels and henchmen. Booster is taking Peach to the town of Marrymore, or Mushroom Kingdom 3, so he could force Peach to marry him. Pretty sure even in a fantasy world, marriage requires 2-party consent, but who knows, maybe Peach will come around. After all, he did offer her cake, so he's a step up from Bowser at least. Upon entering the town, a toad points you towards Booster, who she describes as having a totem pole face, which is weirdly spot on. Booster has broken into the local church and kicked out a bridal party that was mid-ceremony. Be thankful, Toad Groom. He's doing you a favor. Is my wife watching this? If so, this is just a joke. If she isn't watching, go enjoy bachelor life while you still can, dude. There's no time to waste as Booster will marry Peach any minute, so now seems like a great time to rest at the local inn. There's a honeymoon suite you could choose, and if you do, a little toad bellhop will show you to your room and bring items to you when you ring the bell. There's not really much special about this room beyond the completely superfluous option to take a shower. Funnily enough, the bellhop won't leave until after pressuring you to leave a tip. Man, tipping culture is getting out of control. Freshly rested, Mario rushes into the church to stop the wedding in dramatic Shrek/The Graduate/Maid of Honor style. Booster's minions have barricaded the front door, but you could get in through the back. Heading through the kitchen, you'll have the option of stomping on this wedding cake to the irritation of these two French chefs. One of Booster's minions helps Mario burst through the locked door because they aren't terribly smart and Mario is basically Bugs Bunny f***ing with Elmer Fudd at this point. In the process of dragging Peach to the altar, she's dropped 3 items of her clothing, and it's not anything scandalous, just her brooch, her crown, and her entire dress and panties. Really surprised they put this in the game, to be honest. You'll then play a mini-game of tag with the minions to get the items back and deliver them to Peach. Booster says thank you, then has a whoa what moment when he realizes you come to stop the wedding. He's a pacifist though, and doesn't put up a fight, surprisingly. He just kinda snaps his fingers and goes, ah nuts. Peach is grateful and tries to give Mario a kiss. Bowser gets jealous and tries to kiss Peach, but ends up kissing Mario by mistake. Cue audience laughter. That's great. Except, I would argue that it wasn't a mistake. I mean, Bowser constantly kidnaps Peach, but never tries anything with her. I feel like this is just a classic case of falling in love with the pizza delivery boy. No, Philip, the constant delivery orders aren't because I like Little Caesars that much. Can't you figure out that I'm in love with you? Anyways, you remember those French chefs from earlier whose cake you stomped on? Well, they aren't too pleased they worked all day for nothing, and that leads to a very unexpected boss fight between you, the chefs, and for some reason, the cake, which is alive. There's some funny squabbling between the two French chefs, and when they both realize that the cake is alive, they run for it. After beating the ingredients, the battle ends with Booster looking for his cake and his minions peer pressuring him into eating the whole thing in one bite, despite the fact that it may or may not be sentient and or demonically possessed. Booster eats the cake with no regrets, and everyone's happy. Hooray! If you go back to the church afterwards, you'll see that the party that was kicked out is now able to have their wedding, and this little toad boy is finally able to go to the bathroom. All's well that ends well. Chapter 5. A Pirate's Life for Me. If you try to move ahead, Peach will remind you that you need to return her to the Mushroom Kingdom. If you keep refusing, each party member will scold you individually, so you have little real choice here. I should also probably point out that I've been calling her Peach, but in the game, she's referred to as Princess Toadstool. It wasn't until Mario 64, released just a few months after this game, that she would officially be renamed Peach. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the name Toadstool. I mean, her subjects are toads, so what does that make her, right? Anyways, Princess Toad isn't much for fighting in battle, but she does have really useful specials, like being able to heal the entire party. That's right, she's a glorified medic. Not really the most empowering choice, but this is 1996, and it'd be a long time before Nintendo overcorrects and makes Peach an invincible girl boss. With jumps like these, who needs, the main character? Anyways, Mario and company return to the Mushroom Kingdom and see the Chancellor. If you go back into Peach's room and try to find her back massager, she'll scold you for invading her privacy. It's just a back massager, what's the big deal? Mario and Peach say hi to the Chancellor, and Peach lets them know that she's alright, with a little help from Mario.
Oh my, what an ungrateful bitch!
The Toads are alarmed that Bowser has teamed up with Mario, and asks what's going on. Bowser doesn't want to admit that he's been kicked out of his own castle, his pride and reputation on the line. He tells everyone that Mario begged to join the Koopa Troop, and Bowser had no choice because he just seemed so pathetic. This is very on brand for Bowser, and I'm all about that. This whole scene is kind of redundant, as it just becomes about reiterating the plot about how Smithy needs to be defeated and how the rest of the stars need to be collected. It ends with Peach saying that she doesn't want to go with them anymore after some mildly sexist guilt-tripping from the Chancellor. However, once you leave the castle, she'll jump out of her bedroom window and rejoin the party, trying to make her exit a secret, as if the castle guards and every toad in a 1-mile radius didn't see her jump out of the window of the tallest building in town and then slowly descend like Mary Poppins on her umbrella.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!
Why Peach is so concerned about what her subjects think about whether or not she goes on an adventure is beyond me. I mean, isn't she in charge? Who exactly is she beholden to? Funnily enough, if you go back to Peach's room afterwards, you'll see that Grandma Toad is disguised as Peach to keep the castle toads in the dark. It's truly amazing what a wig can do. Mallow suggests that they go back to the wise Frogfucius for advice on where to go next. The party goes to Tadpole Pond, and the old man says, "Go to Star Hill." That's it. That's all he's got for us. No cutscene, no additional dialogue, and to be clear, Star Hill is literally the next destination on the map, so why did we need to have Frogfucius tell us the obvious? What's he gonna tell us next? The moon landing was fake? We already know that, genius. Star Hill is a pretty cool location. To proceed through each gate, you need to turn on all these lanterns, and along the way, you could read the wishes of people who've wished upon a star. You'll find one star whose wish is for Mallow to come home safely. Mallow tears up at this, believing that his parents are alive and do in fact still want him. He's gonna be real disappointed when he finds out the wish was actually from the parents of Mallow Cheng of rural Nebraska. You'll also come across a wish from Luigi, wanting to be a better plumber like his brother Mario. Is Mario even a good plumber, though? I can't find one instance of Mario lore or extended universe stuff that actually talks about whether or not he's good at his day job. At the end of the stage, you'll get the 5th star, which honestly feels a little too easy, especially since there's no boss fight or anything. I left expecting a boss to jump out at the last minute, but no. Mario and company next stop at Seaside Town, a town by the sea. Who came up with these town names in this game, anyways? Everyone here acts a little peculiar. For starters, everyone is gray and shivering, like zombies or like they're afraid of something. A few toads will mention a pirate named Jonathan Jones, which honestly sounds more like an indie folk singer than a pirate, but alright. Jonathan went after a star that fell into the ocean, so that's our cue for where to head next. Mario and company arrive at a sunken pirate ship. For some reason, the stage is just called Sea, which is weirdly vague. Jonathan Jones' ship was apparently destroyed by a giant squid, and there's messages throughout that both warn you that the squid is trapped in the treasure room, and hints as to how to open the door. There's a lot of puzzles to solve in this sunken ship, and it's a nice challenging dungeon for once. Each solved puzzle will give you a hint what the password is, all culminating with you inputting the password to get into the treasure room. Or, you could just get fed up after a while and Google the password. It's balls. Entering the treasure room, you'll fight a giant squid named King Calamari. Man, that's making me hungry. In the next room, you'll encounter a weird Mario doppelganger, and it's a bit creepy because none of the characters acknowledge this, and it's never brought up again why there's just a Mario clone in this room. What are you? Mario and company will eventually run into Jonathan Jones, who's like a pirate shark, or a shark pirate, which is awesome either way. This boss fight isn't too hard at first, but near the end, Johnny will challenge Mario to one-on-one combat, and if you weren't prepared for that, you're gonna be in trouble. After Johnny is bested, he graciously gives Mario his star, being a good sport and all. You're alright, Johnny the Shark Pirate. You're alright. Upon returning to Seaside Town, you're immediately confronted by Yuridovich, a shapeshifter who works for Smithy. If you're wondering about the name, apparently Yari means spear in Japanese, and Vich is kind of like a folksy Slavic ending to a name, so his name is Spearvich. In English, it'd be like Spearington or Spearingsworth, if the joke isn't clear yet. Anyways, he's been taking the form of this toad for no apparent reason, and he demands that you hand over your recently acquired star. If you say yes, like a big ol' they'll take the star and be on their way. If you refuse, they'll tell you that the real toad villagers are being held hostage. One of them goes into a nearby house and seemingly tortures the old man living inside to force Mario's hand. However, we find out that they are merely tickling him. If you continue to refuse, more and more of these false toads will go into the house to tickle the old man. Things get real dark if you refuse the 4th time. When the false toads go inside, the old man no longer makes a sound, as he's literally been tickled to death. So, unless you want to hear an old man get tickled to death off screen, you should just hand over the star. like a Mario follows Eurytovich and the false toads to the nearby port, and before they can escape, they're stopped by Johnny and his gang, who take your side. Aw. Eurytovich transforms into his true self, leading to a truly maddening boss fight. This guy is insanely tough, and I was not ready for this sudden difficulty spike. Thank God I saved right beforehand, because I finally got my first game over, and it was embarrassing. I am truly ashamed. After a tough fight, Eurytovich goes down without any further dialogue or elaboration on his character or motives. I know this game has some shallow characterization, but damn, all we got after this fight is a single line of dialogue basically being like, well, on to the next bad guy to kill. If you go back into town, you'll find the toads are locked up, and now that their captor is gone, they can resume the happy banality of an NPC villager's life. And hey, the old man survived after all. He thanks Mario and gives him 1 coin. I can't help but feel like this is the game's way of saying F you for letting him get tickled so much. Chapter 6. I'm so high. Venturing past Seaside Town, Mario meets this rat who tells him about Monstro Town, a town full of monsters. Come on, Nintendo, you're not even trying here. The path there is riddled with dangerous quicksand, another explicitly 90s thing that seemed like a way bigger threat back then. Eventually, you'll fall through the ground and find yourself in this underground temple. It's a really mysterious place and almost certainly hosts some cult orgies. There's also these weird ghouls that keep trying to shill you their junk. It's like being dropped onto Hollywood Boulevard. At the end of the temple is a familiar face. Below me has some new moves this time around, like the ability to clone your party members and have them fight against you. But like before, he's kind of a pushover. Once he's defeated, Monstro Town is just around the corner. Monstro Town's an interesting place with some cool things to see, like running into one of Bowser's former underlings in this item shop. He deserted the Koopa Troop to go live a simple life for himself, and Bowser not only forgives him, but wishes him well in his new life. Like the interaction he had with Booster's Chain Chomp earlier, it really adds depth to Bowser's character. Yeah, he's a bad guy, but at least he cares about his underlings. And Peach, of course. There's also a dojo where you could fight this sensei named Jinx, who's like a little grasshopper that knows karate. I immediately got my ass handed to me when I fought him. I felt like a real Dooku fighting CGI Yoda. Just pathetic. In one of the homes you'll meet Monster Mama, which honestly sounds less like a toad and more like a big rig. She tells Mario that they are basically at the edge of the world, so if there's any more stars to find, they'll need to seek answers from above. She's friends with these paratroopas, and they sacrifice their bodies so you could get up this mountain. Why can't one of them just pick up Mario? We already know this is possible. Maybe they just like getting stepped on.
Yes! 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 Yes!
After this forest maze, Mario climbs a beanstalk up to Nimbus Land, which is like a city in the sky. Nimbus Land is ruled by a woman named Valentina. When I first played this game as a kid, Valentina made me feel all sorts of new feelings and thoughts. And as an adult, I stand by that. I don't even care that she's clearly a narcissist who has tons of gold statues of herself. She deserves them. Get it, queen? This woman is filling in for the king, who supposedly is gravely ill. She then introduces Prince Mallow to the crowd, and is very clearly just a giant crow. The crowd seems to buy it because these cloud people are airheads. We of course know that this can't possibly be Mallow because he's in your party, and is almost definitely not a crow. By now the pieces should be coming together, telling us that Mallow is, in fact, some sort of banished prince that needs to storm the castle and retake his throne. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. One of the cloud folk paints you gold so you could sneak into the castle disguised as a statue. Like I mentioned earlier, Valentina is all about the gold statues. After sneaking into the palace, Mario discovers the cloud people who used to serve the king are all locked up in the cellar. Weirdly enough, they only seem mildly annoyed by this. Proceeding further, you'll get into a boss fight with this giant egg that slowly cracks the more you hit it. Eventually, when it breaks, you'll face the most challenging enemy of all, the baby dinosaur from the 90s ABC sitcom Dinosaurs. Just kidding, though the real boss isn't that far off. It's Birdo, everyone's favorite hermaphroditic fuchsia dinosaur, with its inexplicable Big Mouth. After defeating Birdo, you'll be just one corridor away from Valentina. You could use the star to plow through the enemies in the next room, and actually skip the fight with the giant crow, which is pretty funny, although it does make me wonder why they included it at all. You'll confront Valentina, and Mallow insists that he's the real prince of Nimbusland, and that they're imposters. I don't think that there's really any backstory for Valentina or the crow here, beyond the fact that they're just castle crashers and grifters, but at least their motivation makes more sense than, like, the bow guy, who is just indiscriminately evil. The boss fight with Valentina is a doozy. The crow will isolate one of your party members for a one-on-one fight. This is super hard. At least he didn't grab Peach, then I would have really been screwed. After you win the fight, Valentina and her crow will make their escape, presumably to go scam some other kingdom somewhere. Mallow goes back inside the palace to meet his parents, the king and queen. Mario pulls out an umbrella, knowing Mallow will get emotional and cry. This is a sweet scene, but it would have been nice to actually see Mallow's reunion. King Nimbus is apparently a big Mario fan and asks him to show off his jumping skills. They tell you that their star piece fell into the nearby volcano, so that means we're in for some RPG Fire Temple shenanigans. So this volcano is really disappointing. There's no puzzles to solve, no unique challenges, it's literally just an enemy gauntlet, and even the enemies aren't particularly challenging. At the end of the volcano is this big derpy looking fire dragon. He and his zombie form go down pretty easily. Just before Mario could grab the star, it's snatched by the Axum Rangers, a Power Rangers themed villain group. When I was a kid, I thought this reference was the shit. You'll then chase them through an unusually long corridor of stages before catching up with them outside the volcano. I always thought that this part was weird, but if you know about the original Japanese dialogue, it makes more sense. In English, when the Rangers show up, they make fun of Mario's mustache before running off, but in the original Japanese, they lament that they forgot to do their dramatic Super Sentai-esque intro. So the joke is that they're rushing off so they could run back in and start over, but any dramatic tension or surprise would have been lost by that point because it takes forever to get back outside. A funny bit, if it had actually been translated properly. The Axum Rangers are pretty tough, and each one of them is doing their own thing. The Green Ranger, for example, casts magic spells, the Pink Ranger is the healer, etc., etc. Incidentally, when she's defeated, she'll complain that her makeup is ruined. Between her and Peach and Valentina, there's not a lot of positive female representation in this game. I guess it is better than Super Princess Peach, at least, where her superpower was crying. When all the Rangers are defeated, you'll have to fight this robot face, which I believe is the ship itself. I think the budget ran out for a Power Rangers transformation scene, but you could tell that that's what they wanted to do here. This was a really hard battle, but if you stocked your inventory to the brim with healing items, you'll be okay. Afterwards, you'll get the 6th star, which means that there's only one left. That's right, it's time to end this game right where it started, at Bowser's Castle. Talk about things coming full circle.
Let's go!
Chapter 7. Mr. Smithy goes to Washington. Nope, forget that, I could do better. How about a trip to the Smithsonian? Nope, I'm going backwards, let's just go with the first one. When you arrive at Bowser's Keep, you'll be faced with 6 doors, all leading to unique challenges. One door leads to an enemy gauntlet, another to a quiz minigame. This door leads to an obstacle course. Why does this look familiar? To be honest, these door challenges are pretty tedious, but I found the obstacle courses to be the most bearable. That isn't to say that they weren't still annoying. For a Mario game, the controls just aren't very accurate, and the diagonal movement doesn't help. When you complete 4 of the 6 doors, you'll run into Magic Koopa, who's been brainwashed by Smithy. Knock some sense into him, and he'll remember that he's still faithful to the Koopa Troop. He'll create a magic gold coin box that will give you never-ending coins, an amazing resource that is absolutely useless this late in the game. How about some Air Jordans for Lieutenant Dan while you're at it? At the end of the castle, you'll arrive back at the Chandelier Room from the beginning of the game. There you'll fight this guy named Boomer, who's like an old samurai or something. He's pretty easy, despite having cheap instant kill moves. Once defeated, he's like, "I couldn't possibly have lost to you." Okay, Boomer. Bowser's loyal Shy Guys raise the chandelier, taking Mario and friends to the top of the castle to face their destiny, aka fighting Exor, the giant sword that's been sticking out of the castle this whole time. Turns out, he's really not that hard. Just poke out his eyes and attack his mouth, or his Neo-Squid? Come on, English translation team. I let Yoster Island slide, but how the hell did Mouth turn into this? Afterwards, jump into Exor's Neo-Squid, and you'll find yourself in the Factory, which is like an interdimensional portal between the Mushroom Kingdom and wherever Smithy is from. This is a pretty epic final location, although the lack of any real puzzles or problem solving makes it a little anticlimactic. There is something really off-putting about the Factory, though. You'll run into these colorless clones of Boyer, Yuridovich, and even the Axum Rangers. Apparently, Smithy is like their god, creating all of them from scratch. This raises so many questions. I mean, the Smithy gang wasn't particularly well written, but they did have enough personality to indicate that they had, souls. So what happens when you fight Boyer? Does he have the same soul of the dude who was firing arrows at Rosetown? Does this unfinished clone have his own new soul? And most important question of all, which one of these hats is mine?
They're all your hats, Mr. NJ.
What?
Honestly, I found this whole area creepy, especially since none of the unfinished Smithy clones say anything to you. It's like they're just mindless zombie clones robbed of their humanity. I almost feel sorry for them. Almost. Before arriving at the final boss, you'll have to face the clerk, the manager, and the director. The manager looks an awful lot like Shovel Knight, and I can't unsee it. There's also like a jester boss and a boss that looks like a clock. It kind of feels like the developers just ran out of ideas after Nimbus Land and just decided to smoosh a bunch of boss fights together so you wouldn't notice the lack of any more cohesive dungeons. At the end of the factory, hammering away, making new minions, is Smithy. He reiterates his goal of taking over the world using an army of his own creation. Why? Just shut up and fight, that's why. Smithy is a challenging final boss, and his ability to create new enemies to aid him certainly doesn't make things any easier. Like any good final boss, once defeated, he has an even more powerful second form. You'll fight him in this creepy room beneath the factory. Why are there dozens of Smithy heads under the ground here? Is somebody making Smithy clones the same way Smithy is making clones of his own? So many questions here, and no, none of them will ever be answered. After a long and grueling battle, Smithy is finally defeated. The final star piece was embedded in him, so once he's dead, all star pieces are finally yours. With the Star Road repaired, the Star Spirit inhabiting the Geno doll departs. We're then treated to a short wrapping up montage, showing different characters we've met along the way, continuing to live their life. Mallow is now the Prince of Nimbus Land. Bowser and his Koopa Troop are repairing his castle. Booster marries Valentina. Nice. I mean, she's likely just gold digging, but still. As the credits roll, Luigi leads a parade in Mario's honor. Poor Luigi. Always the parade leader, never the parade star. As the day fades into night, fireworks ignite over the Mushroom Kingdom. A real magical Disneyland ending, if there ever was one. Square, while working on this game, really pushed themselves to creatively get the most out of cartridge-based hardware. When Nintendo announced that their next generation console, the N64, would still use cartridges, Square possibly realized that disc-based technology would have more potential for growth. Square would then famously partner up with Sony and develop a lot of groundbreaking RPGs for their PlayStation 1 system, and eventually become Squaresoft. So the development of Super Mario RPG was a really important event in time that was not just responsible for the beginning of a deeper lore for Mario and friends, but the world of RPGs as we know them. Like how the shooting of Harambe led to the terrible timeline we all live in today, without Mario RPG, there might not have ever been PlayStation RPGs, and the entire genre of turn-based JRPGs that defined millions and millions of other childhoods would not be the same. I mean, imagine living in a timeline where Final Fantasy VII, Dragon Quest, or Kingdom Hearts never happened. I don't want to live in that timeline, man. Nintendo wouldn't really be known for making first-party RPGs after this, but don't feel too bad for them. They did end up making Super Mario RPG 2 after pairing up with Intelligent Systems, the creators of my favorite series, Fire Emblem. They premiered a concept trailer for it at the 1997 Space World event, and as the game developed and began to distinguish itself as a brand new concept, the name would eventually be changed to Paper Mario. It's hard to know if there will ever be a true sequel to Super Mario RPG, but the inclusion of Cloud and Sephiroth in Super Smash Bros. Gives some hope that Nintendo and Square can work together again, and the recent trailer for a Super Mario RPG remake on the Switch is definitely a good sign for a future sequel, assuming people actually buy the remake. This is everything I could possibly say about this game, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you're not already a subscriber and you like this video, I've got some other full-length retrospectives like this one that I think you'll like just as much, so leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you want to help support my channel. Thanks for watching, see you in the next retrospective video.
Alright, see you later, bye-bye!